Braden's house, their great victory was over Bruce's house. Or I don't know. Or maybe it was Jerry's house. I'm not sure which would work in better.
Well, you're talking about overlap, right? Where everybody has a beef with everybody else, so that everybody's involved, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that beef is going to make the game so much more interesting because the characters will at times want to work against each other.
Sure.
And you won't trust each other, which is great, even though you have to work together.
Well, the conflict between Braden and I, his house, could be it was a deal that went south because we ripped them off, or we left them holding the bill, or their beef with us could be that we cut them out of a deal, or I mean, it could be any kind of slight that would have them in odds with us, even privately.
Yeah, but it has to be more than money. There has to be some kind of great tragedy, personal deaths, that
Maybe it was
kind of
money. Maybe it was money on our side, and it caused deaths on theirs. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we did it for profit, and it cost them lives, the lives of their people. Maybe some of their nobles. Maybe it's a point of honor with them. For us, it was just about money, and they got hurt as a result.
How about this? Right? This great victory came about because there was going to be this battle, right? And it was going to be even, and maybe both armies would withdraw, and that was it. But right before the battle happened, Jerry, your house saw an opportunity to steal from Braden's house. And so when they went to do the battle, all that munitions and stuff were gone because your house stole them.
Where's your little mirror at?
That's interesting.
Where's that
That's
little
an
mirror?
interesting thing.
You totally saw an opportunity. And then the war occurred between Bruce's house and Braden's house. And you guys, Bruce, because you had so much more money, just were pretty much assured of victory. It could be like the Russian thing. You thought you were going to cruise in, and 3 days later, you brought your marching uniforms and everything because you were going to parade down their streets, and they won.
Yeah, I can go with that. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm along for the ride, man. You guys are the experts.
Totally.
So I should describe, Bruce, why we're introducing all this conflict. And the reason is that when you overcome it, when you achieve your goals because of all this drama and conflict, and the more difficult your goals are to achieve, then the more rewarding it is in the story when you do it. You know what I mean? So that's why we are focusing on creating as much drama and problems in the beginning. If you think about the Conan movie, right? We were just talking about Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian starts off totally fucked.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know why my trying to transfer my mic to my headset. I'll figure it out in a minute. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So what happens in the beginning of the first Conan movie is that his parents are both killed and he's taken as a slave. If that's not a low point, I don't know what is, right? And because he starts at that position when he finally kills Thulsa Doom, it is epic. The guy struggled through all these. Yeah.
How about now? Can you hear me now, guys? I think I got the mic.
Hear you great. Hear you great.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you, Bruce.
God darn it, man. Sorry, man. I guess you're just gonna have to hear my 2-year-old in the background.
no worries.
It's all right. Sorry, man.
Not a problem. So that's why we want this epic conflict. You guys could have a goal that you want to resolve it. That could be one of your goals. I want to repair the wound, or you could have a goal of revenge. There are many goals. We'll work out what your goals are. And because there's all this drama, it's easier to create your goals. It's very hard to create your goals if there's no drama.
All right, how about now?
Hear you just
King.
fine.
All right, never mind. I won't ask no more.
That's all right.
Yeah, so that's the the thing that we want to do. And we haven't created goals yet, and we can't really create character goals until the story's solidified. So once the story's nailed down, the goals should, if we've done our job properly, just flow from that. So what was the other conflict? Your Jerry's Lord raped and killed your sister, right? That was one of them. And then you had, I forget, Jerry, what bad things happened to your house? I forget.
My lord believed he was poisoned. He is the last of his line. He's trying to have kids. He believed that somebody gave him some sort of a poison that left him alive, but that he is no longer able to have children. So part of his obsession, part of my mission, is to find some way to help him become viable again, so he can have children, because he's sort of the only succeeding male of his family, and he wants children so he can pass on the line. But he's overdosed on the spice to propagate his life, and that's probably the reason why he's infertile. But he's obsessed with blaming his enemies for his infertility. He believes he's been poisoned, so he's looking for a way of not just punishing them, but finding a way to restore his virility.
So this is great. I think that we could say we don't know. We don't know whether he was actually poisoned or whether it was a spice. That's an unknown thing. And that could be one of your beliefs, that you want to discover the truth of that.
Well, however it happened, he's looking. One of my orders from him is to find a way to reverse it. Find some chemist, some way to reverse it so that he can have his own biological children to continue the house. So
right.
That's a big part of his.
That's a great starting factor, because we look at Henry VIII, that drove his whole court.
That's kind of where I pulled it. Yeah. He just kept having girls. But this guy can't have any children at all. And it's most likely due to overdosing on the spice. But, he blames his enemies for it. He's very paranoid. He's very old. He's just looking for a way to, he's very close to just making a clone of himself and then trying to transfer his consciousness into it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's his sort of last ditch effort to try to have children, something separate from himself that isn't, hopped up on anything. But he's obsessed, and it's my job to not just keep him safe, but to look for an answer to his problem. So,
oh man, I've got a great complication to that.
Sure.
What if the Bene Gesserit have been visiting you, telling you that you better not allow him to have children because he's had so much spice? It's unpredictable what that child will be.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
have their own breeding
overdose so much in the spice, we don't know what's going to happen, so we forbid you.
That could be certainly. Yeah, that's right. They have their own breeding program going on.
Yep, and they don't want any competition. And they know
No,
your guy has had so much spice, who knows what's going to happen.
they're trying to breed. They're trying to breed different houses to create their own super beings. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great plot line.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
you're going to have to,
I'm
they're probably
writing
going to order you to do things because they're so passionate about, and they're unforgiving sons of bitches, right?
right. Pete, I'll write this down. I'll write this down so we have this down as sort of part of my backstory. And
Yeah, I
you
love
can
it.
work. Yeah, and we could stop there with me, and you can help Bruce with his or anyone else that pops in. But want to make sure everybody gets a chance to help develop theirs a bit too. But I like this.
Yeah,
I like this one.
let's think about Bruce's then. What else can we do to you, Bruce? You're the wealthy family. I think one of the plot lines is that the first thing the Harkonnens are gonna focus in on is taking bribes and money from you. That's how they're gonna use you. They're gonna try to force you to give them bribes not to do things. And it may not even be like the Harkonnens. I think it's going to be like their underlings are going to try to get rich off of this assignment. They probably hate this assignment. It sucks. It takes them away from the center of the universe. So they're going to do everything they can to become rich from it, right?
That's keep it small. That way, it's easier to build up. If you make it too big, there's no place to go. You start small, you can build bigger. That's good. A
Right.
minor house that makes sense.
Yeah. What else? So if you're the house that got defeated, let's say by Bruce's house or by Braden's house, maybe your goal is to never let that happen again. And your house used to buy the flashiest military equipment, but they didn't have the generalship, right? So they had all this fancy gear, but they didn't have the history of militarism, like the Prussian general staff, right? So maybe it's partially your goal of finding that leader within your own house who can be that guy. So maybe when you pull in help to solve this problem with the Harkonnens, you might have a goal where you're always trying to find that guy who has the potential to be the military genius and to run your army, which was lacking. Does that sound interesting or no? Bruce?
Bruce, okay. I've actually had situations where I was talking to somebody. I guess I was talking too long. I lost them, and for a while I was just talking to dead space. You probably
I
lost
don't
it
know
for a
if you
second. You
got
probably
Bruce.
talking.
Are you
Oh, that's
there?
cool.
Bruce, are you there?
Okay,
I don't know if
I
you
liked
can.
it.
Yeah,
He
I
might
think
be.
maybe we'll put
Good.
a time crunch on it. Like maybe maybe his house told him, "Hey, we think things are going to go to shit with the Harkonnens, and even though we don't want war, we think it would be unavoidable. You better find this person fast."
It could be that he's not having not done anything like this before. It might be easier for Bruce if you figure out a scenario he works on his character, and then you create a scenario for his character, and then just to a certain point, and then let him go from there, like training wheels. Sort of flesh out the beginning of it, and then let him go from there. It's like training wheels.
What if the real answer is that military leader that's going to help his house is Braden's character?
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm not sure what happened.
So we were thinking of a scenario for you where your house lost the battle against Braden's house because you had the best equipment because you had money and everything, but what you never really had was a history of militarism, like, the Prussian staff, right? So maybe your house says, look, things are heating up with the Harkonnens. You need to find somebody who can be our military leader.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good for anything, man. Like I said, man, this is all new to me, so I'm going with the flow.
No problem. The important thing though, Bruce, is we want you behind the ideas because you're going to be the one role playing to try to achieve them. So we want you passionate about these things, right?
Sure.
What else is there?
Well, it depends on if more people are going to join or not, because how big you make the story is based on the people around it. So we need to be sure about the number of people, because it's okay for people to join, but you want to make sure that they're going to stay in it, because if they get in it and they get out of it, it makes a little more awkward.
Yeah. I have 2 potential other people. So
that's great.
See. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
As long as we get our backstory straight before we get started, so we all know where we're coming from.
Yeah. You know what's funny, Bruce? One of the guys who may join us was in 2508, but he was in B Company 2508 just
What's
recently.
His last name? Recently.
He got out of the army like a month ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The younger generation.
Right on.
He's jumping with me in the Normandy, and we were talking, and he signed up through our website, right? And so he said, hey, I'm active duty. I said, you're active duty? Oh, shit, that's cool. What unit in the 82nd were you in? He's like, I was in 2508. I'm all, holy shit.
What company?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Was he in Bravo Company?
Yes.
Really? What platoon?
I know.
Not second platoon.
Bravo Company 2508. So unreal.
Was he second platooner?
I think he was in multiple platoons. I'm not sure if he was in second.
I wonder if the black sheep's still on the wall there.
I know. So cool, man. And the other guy I've been friends with a very long time, who's an experienced role player, but he doesn't know the Burning Wheel. So everybody's
Pete, it's pretty straightforward. He's role played before. It's easy pickup. I mean, I watched the videos you sent and picked up pretty quick. He should be fine.
Yeah, he'll be good. So let's say, I think we're kind of closing in on your guys' backstories. Oh, here's a thing that I want from you guys. Tell me about the person that you really trust. Who is the person that your character really trusts?
Living or dead? Has to be living?
It should be living, because this person you're going to roll up as a relationship, and that you'll be able to have them there to help you with things.
Well, even though go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, easy for me. That's my father, right? The Duke.
Sure.
Yeah, good. Good. With me, I'm my master won me in a game of chance, so I'll even though I'm devoted to my lord and he's still kind of nuts, I'm gonna say something kind of. I'm gonna say like the woman who like the cook in our kitchen. As I was growing up, she she fed me, she took care of me or whatever. She was sort of a impromptu mother figure or whatever. So she's still the cook in the kitchen, and there's a lot of staff, but she's like an arbitrary, she's not important to but she was someone that was like a mother figure to me because I was basically won in a game of chance at 8 years old.
Does she have any special skill or reputation?
No, she's been a cook for the family for many, many years. I mean, it's interesting when there's something special, but sometimes it's just not everybody is. I mean, sometimes it's, like you make friends with the cleaning lady. You don't know why. It just, they seem nice and, whatever. But we could say she's a really good cook if you want.
How are you going to use her to help you in situations? That's normally if you have a relationship in this game, you can pull in a relationship to help you.
Well, I mean, I could confide in her. I mean, she's I revere my lord and I'm devoted to him, but I don't necessarily trust him because he can sometimes be crazy and say and do crazy things, like murder his wives when they don't give him sons or whatever. But
I have a great idea. What if she's a Fremen?
That could be sure. She could be like a double agent. She could be there gathering information. That's fine.
No, you know she's a Fremen. Everybody knows she's a Fremen. She has blue eyes. She just happens to be a Fremen.
Okay.
And I don't know if that'll be helpful to you. Maybe it will because she has contacts within the Fremen peoples. And we can say this is before, we could have this game start before the Atreides go to Arrakis.
Right. Okay, so this can be like a prequel.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, and listen, the way my lord is acting, they could think that he's trying to jump the gun and try to create his own super being, right? Which is just a canard for the real thing.
Yeah, and that's why the Bene Gesserit would be so worried about your lord having a baby, because they don't know who the Kwisatz Haderach is.
Yeah. That's fine. That sounds good.
Yeah, and maybe your cook's special skill is her ability to fight with a crysknife. She looks like this older lady. Nobody thinks she's just this tiny little frail lady, but she's like deadly with her crysknife. So when you get into trouble, you can circle her up to help you.
Sure, I got that's cool.
All right, Bruce. So here's the thing, though. If your relationship is going to be your dad and he's the Duke, it's going to be tough to call on him in a situation because you don't want to endanger the Duke. That may be a great thing, though, because anytime you pull him in, he's suddenly going to be in danger and you might have to protect him. Whenever you pull him in to help you, he's suddenly going to be vulnerable.
Right. That's why I volunteer most of the battles, I guess.
Sounds good. And that's why maybe that's why your uncle, and I still think we should have the uncle who hates you. That's why your uncle told your father we should put your son in there because it's a great time for him to learn and to become a leader. But secretly, your uncle wants you to do that because he thinks you're going to be over your head and get killed.
Right. Cool.
Yep. That sounds pretty fucking juicy to me. So tell me, give me another relation. You could have more than one, guys. Give me another one.
Do you want like another family member to gussy up besides my
Maybe, or
cook?
it could be, it doesn't have to be a family member. It could be a contact, maybe a trader. It could be someone in the space guild who's gonna, here's the chance to get someone to really who can help you in things.
All right. So I'm a mentat. So let's say
It
an
might
information
even
hub.
be, what if it's a mentat who works for the Harkonnens?
Right, but how would so that would be an adversary, right? That would be an adversary.
I don't know, but somehow you guys, you can have a relation that's hateful, and it's cheaper to buy that relation if the relation is hateful.
Sure. Okay. So now you're talking about like an adversary, like somebody who.
Not
Okay, that's
really,
fine.
though. It's someone you don't have to circle up. You can just say they're there, and you can try to convince them to help you.
Right, but the Harkonnens are known for their. I mean, they addict their servants and their slaves to various different chemicals. So you're not going to have a close relationship with one of their minions unless they're trying to get information out of you.
What
Right?
if you
I mean,
went to the same mentat school together, and that's how you know each other?
yeah, it could be. It could be that we know each other, but their interests would be aligned with their masters, just as mine is. Now, I'm not chemically dependent on anything to be loyal to my house, but the Harkonnens are well known for addicting their slaves to various different things because they're very brutal and they're very harsh. So
Maybe
the idea of go ahead.
I was just going to say, maybe from time to time you can extract favors from this guy because you guys know each other. I'm just throwing it out there. You want
No. I mean, there may be ways to bribe. There may be ways to bribe him into giving me information, but he wouldn't necessarily be a friend because Harkonnens generally tend to keep people that are filled with rage or fear, and the way they handle their people is fairly brutal. I mean, if you remember the mentat they took from the Atreides house, they addicted him to the milk of a rat. He had to milk every day for his own survival. He had to milk a rat for the antidote that he needed to survive. So they're pretty awful.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could be that in my he was someone from my school and I got him addicted to something much worse and he needs that to survive or whatever. And that he could be my contact in that regard. That I have members of his family hostage or something. Because my character isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, but he didn't have a lot of friends. And he lives for the house, he lives for his lord and for their continuation. But maybe not the Harkonnens, maybe some other minor house that people don't know anything about. That might make more sense.
Sure. You could still make the relationship hateful to make it cheaper. So when you buy a relationship, if it's hateful, forbidden, family, there are various things that make the relationship cheaper to buy.
I hear you. It could be.
All right. So, Bruce, tell me about a second relationship for you.
Well, I got a 2.5-year-old and a foreign wife from the Philippines. Can we work them in to the story?
Sure.
You could work in a wife, immediate family. That's cheaper. What what would be the skills of your wife? How would your wife help you?
She could be a linguist.
Yeah, for sure.
She could be a linguist from other cultures. She could translate other because you can't learn every single language. She could be gifted in that regard.
What if she is a member of the Bene Gesserit?
Sounds dangerous.
It is.
What if she was kicked out of the Bene Gesserit? She's like, she got in trouble somehow. And so the Bene Gesserit hate her for whatever reason. She was kicked out of the order.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So maybe the Bene Gesserit consider her always like a spy and a traitor.
Or a heretic.
A heretic. That's even better.
Yeah, a heretic. Hell, they could still be up for her. I mean, they don't want her floating around with their teachings to teach mamby-pamby to whoever she wants. Maybe your child is in jeopardy, you know?
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
Anyway, I've got nothing to do with it. Actually, that's not my. It's Bruce's call, not mine. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Oh man,
But still,
I'm open for anything, man. That's works great, man. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, I mean, if it involves your family, though, that's cool though because it lets you bring them into the fold, as it were. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Careful, it's a pretty brutal world. Dune it's the books aren't they can be pretty brutal on people. You know, it's not quite Game of Thrones, but they can be pretty brutal on bodies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good start, though. I mean, what do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
So yeah, I guess tonight all we can do is just work on our backstory, which is fine, and then try to get together a later date with Braden and anyone else that wants to be involved. But it shouldn't be that difficult a thing, especially if you tell them to sort of work on their backstory by the time we get together, because at a certain point we do want to start. But I do understand that without everybody here, all we can do is sort of work on what we have.
Oh yeah, but this is good stuff, man. We are coming up with great storylines. You know that we're building the base that the game will run on, and we are building a phenomenal base. Yeah.
Is it easier for?
Here's another thing your character can have: a reputation. What is your character's reputation?
Well, I can tell you mine is he's efficient, but he's a mentat. He makes no bones about his loyalty to his house. He's not his sense of loyalty is to the family, and he's not cruel, but his focus is on the proliferation of the house and his lord. So he's not a good guy.
How about you have a reputation as loyal? That's your reputation.
Loyalty to my house, right?
Yes.
Sure. Maybe a.
Let me tell you the way circles works and how reputations play in. So a reputation can either help you or hurt you in circles. Now what is circles? Circles is the ability to find someone. So if you want to talk to someone in this game, you don't just say, I walk up to X and talk to him. You have to use your circle skill to get that person in front of you. And there are two things that you have to do to circle somebody up. You have to share a life path with them. Or if you don't, the only way to get to them is to pull in a family, like a relation, and have that relation help you circle up that person. So if you're looking for someone that you don't share a life path with, then you can use one of your relations. This is why your relations are so important, to help you do that circle. The other thing is your reputations and affiliations. If you have a reputation, you can use that in your circle skill. You can't use other skills when you're circling. You can only use reputations and affiliations or get help from other people. So that's why reputations, affiliations, and your relations are so important in circling.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
With that loyalty trait, anytime you try to circle up someone in your house, that's going to be an advantage. Because they're going to know you're known to be loyal. You have that reputation. And
yeah, that
it's
sounds
probably
good.
only known within the noble court of your house, because getting a regional reputation is very expensive. You might be able to afford it, but maybe if you want to buy the cheaper version, maybe you only get the reputation within your court. So anyone in your court knows you're super loyal.
Right. Well, sometimes you want to be careful about a greater reputation, because the less your enemies know about you, the better. On the other hand, sometimes a reputation can actually help you. So, I mean, they're good and bad either way. But, I mean, sometimes it's best to maintain a low profile, because if you're all that, people think you're all that, then they can see you coming a mile away. On the other hand, if you don't have much of a reputation to begin with, it's easier to get around, you know?
Right.
So
Bruce, what is your reputation?
Loyal.
Maybe you have a bad reputation. Like maybe your reputation is that you're too young. You know, you're too young, which would help you to circle up Harkonnen spies or what have you, because they are going to want to get on you to manipulate you. And that reputation would help you circle them up, but hurt you in circling up other people. Just a thought. And if you can't think of a reputation, you could also have an affiliation. So what an affiliation is, you are affiliated with some organization, and that can help you when you circle up people. So you might be affiliated. Go ahead.
Pete, how about I'm known for devotion to my Lord. And then Bruce can be loyal to his family. He can be loyal. Mine can be devotion to my Lord, right? To like a frightening degree, devotion, right, to my Lord, like a worship thing. And his can be loyalty because he's a hero. He's a military guy, and maybe he's young, and maybe he's a little naive or whatever, but he's sincere. So instead of using
here's a complicated thing. What if his devotion is to his house and not to his dad? So like he would willingly sacrifice his dad for the survival of the house.
Who are you talking about?
Bruce.
Well, I mean,
it's just a thought. What if Bruce, his character, was devoted to his house more than his dad?
The only way that would work is if his dad was a bad guy and he had to take his dad out and take over.
No,
so I
not
don't
necessarily.
know.
No, I don't think so. It just means that his loyalty is not to his dad, it's to his house. It doesn't mean his dad is a bad guy.
I guess. Sure, if that needs to be a thing. But you could say the same thing about me. I mean, my devotion to my Lord, but his focus is on reproducing so that his house can continue. So what's my, who am I supposed to be focused on? My Lord? Or or the house that he's trying to maintain. So
I would
it
say
could be
your
argued.
devotion is to your Lord.
Yeah,
That's more
right.
interesting. And in fact, if his goals are self-harm, you might work against him because you're so devoted to him, you don't want him to harm himself.
So when it comes to houses, everything begins with family. I mean, like for example, Atreides, they're very loyal to each other. They're very loyal. I mean, the house is made up of people. The house is not just about people. So if you say, well, it's my dad first or the house first, I mean, they're sort of connected to one another.
Yeah, but I
Because
can
once
say
dad,
that there's different. If you look at uh, house politics, take the War of the Roses, for example. There were inter battles even between people from the same house.
true. But I mean, were there? Let me ask you this: were there? I mean, were they focused on family? Were they focused on saving the family, saving the individuals, or were they trying to take over? Were they trying to do their own thing? I mean, because a lot of people
There was
self-interest.
the War of the Roses. People were super selfish, man. They were. I would say they were each focused on themselves.
Right. Well, Bruce's character is an honorable man, and there are plenty of honorable people. In look, there's Gurney Halleck, there's Duncan Idaho, there's Duke Leto Atreides. There are many honorable men in Dune. They're interested in doing the thing.
I'm not saying he's not honorable. I'm just saying that his honor could be towards protecting the house lineage, even over his father's life.
I mean, yeah, if that came up, if he had to choose between the two, he'd have to make that decision. But I mean,
it doesn't have to be. I was just throwing it out there. If it's that divisive, we won't do it. I'm just trying to give him ideas to run with.
Well, part of the, yeah, I mean, that's possible.
But we could do something else. Bruce, have you thought of anything? What is your reputation?
Well, I was going with the loyalty thing, but sounds like you want me to go a different path, and I'm fine with anything. So,
I know, but we're trying to pull for you to really love your character. We want stuff to come from you. You know what I mean?
All right.
What other thing maybe instead of loyalty, because that's what Jerry's character already has. Come up with something else. Maybe you're known for your dueling ability, or maybe you're known for
honor. It could be honor.
Anybody home? Oh, thank you.
Maybe you're known for your skills in science, I don't know, or your interest in science. Or maybe you have an affiliation. What if you have an affiliation with
That's cool. Great. Let's see if anybody lives
a group? What if so your wife's affiliated with the Bene Gesserit, even though they don't like her, she's still affiliated, right? What would be an interesting affiliation for you to counter that?
Hello, Mr. Knight. What's your name? Oh, well, look at that.
Maybe I practice a little bit of magic or something.
So your wife taught it to you, which is super forbidden. That would be a good reason why the Bene Gesserit hate her.
Right.
Or you know what might be more interesting? What if you invested in the Space Guild, and so you have a affiliation with them because you're an investor?
Sure. I mean, don't know what that means, but I guess
it means that if you want to circle up from someone from the Space Guild, it will be easier. That's what it means.
what he's trying to say, Bruce, is the Spacing Guild does not get along well with the Bene Gesserit, so there's a conflict between them already. He's looking for conflict in your life. But I mean, you could be known for your sense of honor, for the honor of your family, the house. That could be a staple of your family is honor. You know, is mine's loyalty. And look, loyalty could be to a crazy person that's trying to kill everybody, so that's not necessarily a good thing. But a sense of honor is a good thing. So, you know, you could do the right thing, you know, whether things turn out good or bad. And there are plenty of stories about people who died or lived for their sense of honor. So you could be known for your sense of honor, you know.
That could be really used against you too. That, I think, sense of honor is a good. It more might be a trait than a reputation, but we could play it as a reputation. And the reputation would mean that people who, it might harm you if you're trying to circle up like a spy or someone who wants to use you, because it's going to be harder for them to manipulate you if you're known to be honorable, but it'll be easier to circle up someone who is important to your house or whatever. So yeah, we could do that. Way to go,
but I mean, look, any trait can be used against somebody. Somebody's arrogance, somebody's loyalty, their devotion, anything can be used against somebody else if you can figure out how to do it. So yeah, it's true. If you're dealing with somebody who's honorable, they might follow rules that you don't, but there are also downsides to people who are,
and maybe to make it cheaper, maybe it's only known to your household. So like a regional reputation or affiliation is expensive. It's 25 resource points. And a national one is 50 resource points. So it's expensive. But still, we can talk about it. I think we have a good thing. Let's also talk about traits. So traits are characteristics, stereotypical characteristics of your house. So you're going to need 3 to 4 traits that embody your house. So like the trait of, let me just pick one, like Iran. If I wanted to pick an Iranian trait, it would be that they, and I know it only applies to the leaders of Iran, that they are like hotheads, you know what I mean? They act impulsively and they do things, off the cuff. So that would be an example of a trait from your house, impulsive.
That sounds good. I mean, I could do that.
Yeah, and you don't have to pick that trait. I'm just giving you an example of a cultural trait. So you need to come up with 3 or 4 cultural traits from your house.
I understand. I'm a mentat, so hothead doesn't exactly fit. But
right.
I'll come up with a few. It's no problem.
Yeah, and then those traits, when they get you into trouble, they give you Artha, and Artha is the way you get experience in this game. So there's no experience points. You get Artha, and Artha helps you in the game when you're trying to achieve your goals.
Okay. But Bruce, whatever you decide to do, the most important thing is that you're playing a version that you can connect with on some level. And if you make it more like you, if that helps, then that's what you should do, How
that's what I was
play
thinking, like calm, organized, friendly.
That's good. There'll be plenty of people who aren't that, so that's cool.
And how traits get you Artha? Let me give you an example. In the Conan game we were playing, one guy was a drunk, and he was always falling susceptible to getting drunk at the wrong time. He was like Tyrion in Game of Thrones, right? So that got him a lot of art theft because it always caused him problems within the game. Now, it doesn't have to be that. It could be whatever, right? But traits that get you into trouble get you experience.
Interesting.
Yeah. You don't get
Interesting.
experience from a trait that doesn't get you into trouble.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, because they want you to role play, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's an example. And then we'll need instincts. So instincts are things that you say can happen. And so my character had an instinct that he never set his hammer down. So he was like this warrior character, and wherever he went, he always had his hammer with him because he would never set his hammer down. And that was a problem at times because when he was trying to sneak into the party, he couldn't leave his hammer. He had to sneak in with his hammer and he stood out like a sore thumb because he would never set his hammer down.
Right.
But that also meant that he always had his hammer. No matter what happened, if we got into combat somewhere, he had his hammer.
Pros and cons. I get it.
I have another character whose instinct is that whenever she gets into trouble, she throws a dagger. Whenever she senses danger, she throws a dagger. So if somebody makes her feel like she's in danger, she's going to attack him. She's going to throw a dagger at him and run away. That's going to get her into a lot of trouble. Yep. But it could be. Yeah. Well, I know another guy who has an instinct that helps him, and that is he never gets cornered. So whenever he goes to a bar or a tavern, or no matter where he is, he makes sure that he's never cornered. So the GM can never say to him, hey, you cornered, because he never gets cornered.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they can work either way. But that's an example. Gotcha. So the game has beliefs, instincts, and traits. And some of your traits can be really helpful. So we talked about character traits. There are also die traits, which give you an extra dice in some roles, or take away dice in some roles. You can have negative traits too. And there are call-on traits, which are even more powerful. And a call-on trait allows you to re-roll failed rolls. So my character who throws a dagger at people whenever she's in trouble, she has a call-on trait called Fleet of Foot. And whenever she runs away, any dice that she fails, she can re-roll once. So she is fucking fast.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's an example. And we'll go over this when we start creating your characters. So what's going to happen in the next session is we're going to start to roll up your characters. And you're each going to get 4 life paths. And these life paths give you skills, resource points, and help you with your stats. So if you pick a life path that's very physical, you're going to get physical points. If you pick a life path that's very mental, you're going to get mental points. And that's how you create your character. You roll through these series of life paths.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. And then once we go through that, you'll need to create your beliefs, and the beliefs are the core of the game. The way beliefs work is each session, I will go to each of you and I will say, what belief do you want to work on? And you're going to tell me the belief, and then I'm going to say, what is your intent? And how are you going to accomplish that intent? That's called intent and task. And then when you tell me that, I'm going to tell you the consequences of failure. And the consequences of failure are if you fail, there's going to be some new complication in the story. If you succeed, then whatever you told me your intent was happens.
I got it.
And we go around the room. Now you can all help each other. So, Jerry, your character is trying to accomplish something. You can ask the other players for help, but they can also work against you. So they can contribute a die to help you, or they can contribute a die because they're working against you, and that will increase your obstacle.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that's
I
how
guess
that.
I should have taken it sooner.
Now, the other thing to know about the game is leveling up. So there are no levels in this game. What happens is your skills just get better. And they get better by testing. Even if you fail, that counts as a test in most circumstances. There are a couple of small circumstances where it doesn't. But in most circumstances, you don't even need to pass the test. You just need to take the test. But you can't take random tests. Hey, I want to increase my brawling, so I'm going to test my brawling. No, you have to give me an intent and a task. And you normally do that via role playing. So you'd say, I'm going to talk to somebody, and whatever you say to them in role playing, I determine the task. So you'll tell me the intent. I'm going to go up and talk to this guy, and I want him to help me. But the way you talk to him is going to be the way I determine what skill you're using for that task. Does that make sense?
I understand.
So
Yeah.
if you go up there and you start lying to the guy, you're using falsehood. If you are persuading the guy in role playing, you're using persuasion. If you go up to the guy and you get right in his face where you're inches away from his nose, you're using intimidation. And I may tell you to use that skill even if you don't have it. And that's called opening a skill. So you can open a skill. I can force you to open a skill because by the way you role played, I can say, hey, you told me you were going to try to persuade him, but it sure sounds to me like you're just going to lie. So I'm not going to allow you to use persuasion. You got to use falsehood. Does that all make sense?
So even if it's our intention to not use falsehood, you could say we are being false?
Yeah. It depends on how you role play it. I make you role play it. You don't go up there and just say, hey, I'm going to roll my persuasion against this person. You got to go up there and role play it out. And when you role play it out, that's how I determine what skill you're using.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So it forces you to role play and to think before you act. Because depending upon your role play, I'm going to make you use whatever skill I think you're role playing. But the good news is, the more you use a skill, the better you're going to get at it. Eventually, if you lie all the time, you're going to become an excellent fucking liar. If you use your sword all the time, I don't care that you're a mentat. If you start using your sword or whatever weapon, a firearm, you're going to become great in that because you're using it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Building the skill. Got it.
Yeah. Is that all kind of making sense, Bruce?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a great game because your character becomes what you do. So forget about the classes. Whatever you start doing, that's what your character is going to become.
Right.
Cool. I think we're good. Guys, I think we need the other two people. We'll see if we can get Braden or whoever back next week, and we'll try to make more progress. But I think you guys are kind of solidifying on your characters. I think we've made a lot of progress. What do you guys think?
Yeah, as long as the other guys can play catch up.
Yeah, they can. We'll just focus on them. Now that you guys know what's needed, you can help them to drill in.
But the rest can help the heroes.
Is the weekend a better time for these guys? For you
I can
guys?
do weekends.
I mean, yes, Saturday
I'll
night.
ask around and see if people can do Saturday. I would love to do Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah, the only problem with Saturday is I can't join you until about 9:15 because I work. And so I can't join you guys until about 8, until after 8:30. I can't join you guys until after 8:30.
right.
I can join you. Right. But I am willing to join you guys if it's easier on the weekends for the guys. We can switch it to 8:30, and as soon as I finish with work, I can get on board my phone and we can go from there. Absolutely. If the guys feel it's better on the weekends, I'm down with it.
Okay. I'll ask and I'll try to get more commitment. I'll try to get more commitment. See what happens. Because it'd be great.
Just let me know, brother.
The story that we're creating, guys, I gotta tell you, it's fucking awesome. This is gonna be a great game. It's gonna be great.
I look forward to it, man. I look forward to it. Just let me know. Same time next week, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
And if you guys want to switch to Saturday, just let me know. I just can't join you until 8:30, though.
Right. For now, tentatively, we'll try Thursday again, and we'll see. And I will ask them if they want to move, but temporarily, let's say Thursday.
That sounds fine with me.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'll stop the recording, and I will see you guys next